Hi there. Good day, everybody. Hi, I'm Steve Farrell, and I'm a co-founder of Humanities Team. I'm coming to you live from our studio here in Boulder, Colorado. And as you can see, I'm on screen with an esteemed guest. And Lisa, where are you coming in from today?
I am coming in from California, just north of San Francisco.
All right. And yeah, we were talking before we came on the air in Marin County. Wow, isn't she the lucky one? That was where I I bought my first house in Marin County, and what a delightful area, hiking, biking, and lots of progressive people. So, and I'm really just super happy to have Lisa with me. I'm going to give her a proper introduction here in just a moment. But first, just welcome to all the people on Humanities Team, the Humanities Stream Plus, that are out on social media. So big shout out to all of you. Great to have you with us. Stick around because you're going to want to hear this story that we're going to talk about here that is Lisa's work during the next 30 minutes. We might even go over a few minutes. It's really extraordinary work. In fact, Lisa was doing this work in the 1980s. So, even like Deborah Poneman, who's a dear friend, she was out there in the 1980s too. So big round of applause and bow to Lisa for being out there early, because it wasn't easy. Like in the 1980s and 90s, everybody was chasing their new PC or other uh, technology and stuff. This notion of conscious living was only just being birthed into the world. So really happy to have Lisa here with me. Okay, let me give her a proper introduction, then we're just going to jump right in because there's so many interesting things that I want to get to. So Lisa Barnett is the author of the book Akasha, Spiritual Experiences of Accessing Our Soul's Plan and Infinite Intelligence, a book in the Common Sentience series. She is the founder of the Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom, where she specializes in teaching you to access personal soul wisdom and guidance to transform your life, working directly with your soul's plan and with the support of the Akashic record keepers. And we'll talk about what that means. She is also the best-selling author of the Your Soul Has a Plan, Awaken to Your Life Purpose, The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records, and From Questioning to Knowing, 73 Prayers to Transform Your Life. Lisa was sharing she actually has 2 new books coming out this year. We'll go ahead and talk about those. Lisa offers Akashic record readings and quantum healing sessions to clear old soul contracts, heal trauma, release karma, and vows, helping individuals align with their soul's path. And you can go to akashicknowing.com, akashicknowing.com to learn more about Lisa. And I also want to say just a shout out to Ariel Patricia. She's the CEO of Sacred Stories Publishing, which is Lisa's publisher here for this book we're talking about. Also my publisher for A New Universal Dream. So thank you, Ariel, for helping to put this program together. All right, and we'll jump in and talk about the Akashic Records. So let's start right at the top here, Lisa. What is the Akashic field for people that are maybe just getting their feet wet here with this?
Always a perfect place to start. So, the Akashic Record is the recording of your soul's journey through all time space continuum. So, I like to imagine it as a big library. And what the Akashic Record keepers, who are your librarians, tell us that from the moment you individuate from source and start on your journey, which would be, say, billions of years ago, every lifetime is energetically recorded in this etheric energy that we call the Akasha or the Akashic records. And so you literally over time build your own library filled with the wisdom that you have learned through these hundreds or thousands and thousands or millions even of lifetimes here on Earth and in other places, planes, and dimensions. And as I say, you have your own team of librarians that I refer to as the record keepers, or sometimes we, call them the Akashic Masters. And they are here in support to you to help you understand who you truly are as an infinite and wise and ancient soul.
Wow, isn't that astounding? So the notion of just getting in touch with your soul's journey back through hundreds, thousands of lifetimes. Because, of course, as we know, when we talk about conscious living, this means, this is the Rumi quote, right? Not just a drop in the ocean, the whole ocean in a drop, which means everlasting life, which means unlimited potential. And so there's a lot to look at as we build that library and as we build these lives out, huh?
Absolutely, so much. And to me, it's an amazing empowerment tool because there is so much that is relevant to everyone in their own personal life. So it's not just kind of abstract information about, oh, you were some famous person in a past life. It's about the soul plan that you wrote before you embodied this time, and those gifts and talents you wanted to bring into this life, and the people you wrote soul contracts with in this life. And so there's a lot to learn. It's useful for helping us to understand who we are and why we have chosen sometimes our family of origin, why we have some kind of challenges in our lives. So all of this information is there and accessible to us through the Akashic records.
Yeah, wow, astounding. I'm sure we've got a lot of people's attention. And you could see why these programs that you do, you were sharing, kind of a program 1, then a program 2 that follows, one that's training people to do this work. Wow, you could see why you'd have just tremendous interest in this, huh? So who are the Akashic record keepers? So you've referred to and even as yourself as a Akashic record keeper. So who are these people, Lisa?
So the interesting thing is that, as I was saying, we have a big library and we also have a set. There's probably at least a dozen or more record keepers that keep your records, not anybody else's, but yours. And they're in service to you. And so these are pure energetic beings of light. So I think the interesting thing is that they've never been human, right? So they have no judgment. They have no filters or triggers or beliefs about anything that you want to ask them, right? No judgment there. They're pure source energy. They're in service, and they're not angels. They're not ascended masters, although I occasionally call them the Akashic masters, but they're not ascended masters. Ascended masters, right, go through human lives and ascend. So they are these beautiful, pure energy beings in service to us, to help us understand who we've been, why we came, what we planned, all of this phenomenal information that is stored in our Akasha.
Wow, just fascinating. So does everyone have an Akashic record and record keeper?
Everyone. And everyone has a personal Akashic record and a series of record keepers. And if you start your own business, say you decide to become an entrepreneur, your business actually also has an Akashic record, which is fascinating. So you can delve into the soul of your business. And so, and some of our pets have records. So our pets, our businesses, often sacred sites. So it's a very profound kind of energetic recording.
Wow, that is just so fascinating. So just like with your friends, like Deborah, as an example, do you get do your friends often ask you to go personal and down into all of this Akashic record stuff, Lisa?
Often they do. And I have done lots of readings for Deborah, which I know when she was doing your Year of Miracles, she used to talk about it on the show. And so I'm not telling any, tales out of school. So she will often ask me kind of, what's my highest and best next step? Am I in alignment? As a matter of fact, at one point she moved here to Marin because we got in the Akashic records. This was the best place for her to be. And it it was so funny because later on she said, I thought you were crazy. I don't know. I was like kind of, doubting. And I was thinking I'm moving to Southern California and, but I trust you implicitly. And so a couple days after I told her, I said, no, the record keepers are saying Marin, not LA. She got a call from her daughter who had just signed up for school in the Bay Area. And she was like, how did you know?
Oh my gosh.
I didn't, but the record keepers knew the highest and best place for you to be going. And so that was the answer. So I love to be of support to my dear friends like Deborah and many of my other friends, because it is useful. Either we learn to access our own Akashic records, like I do teach people, or often having an Akashic reading and healing session. I do a lot of healing through the quantum field because Akasha is part of Source, which is, of course, part of the quantum. And because we're in the energy of the quantum field, there is no time space. So I can actually heal past life trauma or childhood trauma for people to free up that energy to move forward and create really what your soul came to create in this lifetime.
Yeah. Wow. Fascinating. I'm sure you've got a lot of people. I'll read your website again here a couple of times throughout the program because I'm sure we've got people's attention. So what are soul contracts and how do they relate to karma, Lisa?
Well, before we embody, we really are these ancient infinite souls. So when we decide to come into Earth, we really want to do a lot. So we look at all the people, all of our soul family members, people that maybe we've had karmic patterns with in other lifetimes. We look around at these hundreds or thousands of souls that we could possibly create soul contracts with, and we literally say, hey, I'm going back to Earth. You ready? You going back to Earth too? And so sometimes we write a few contracts for significant partners because we don't always meet that soul in a life. It's not a given that we will find that one soul in a haystack. So being very ancient wise souls, we're like, I think I'm hedging my bet. I'm going to write a half a dozen soul contracts to have significant partners, and I might meet one or two of them. Sometimes we marry a few times, sometimes we have serious relationships, and then we move on, right? Some of those relationships have what I refer to as kind of karma attached. And what that means is when we write that contract with the person, we are planning some soul growth around that relationship. So we might say, I've had this ongoing pattern for many different lifetimes where I give my power away. I'm ready to stop that. I don't want to be a doormat anymore. I want to really stand in my own power and share my own gifts and wisdom. And so you may end up marrying someone or being in a relationship with someone who, again, triggers that memory of someone who takes you for granted, who expects you to do all the, work around the house, who doesn't treat you like an equal. And that triggers you, in a sense, to go, hey, I'm not doing this again. Let me kind of wake up and realize this is a pattern that I've had in other lives, or this is a pattern in this lifetime. I'm going to end it now. I'm going to do my own work around maybe my low self-esteem. I'm going to do some work around worthiness. I'm going to do some personal healing, understanding. Sometimes we go back and we do some energy healing around our childhood because often that's where it will start in a lifetime. And so we can actually work on clearing, understanding, releasing some of these old patterns as we are doing our work around compassion and forgiveness. And then by the time we've really kind of come to that place of true forgiveness, we've really unraveled that old karmic pattern. And we're free to move forward.
Yeah. Beautiful. I want to say too, Lisa, I just, was thinking this right when we were in the green room before we came on. I can see why you were given the gift and these lifetimes with this gift, because the thing about the Akashic records is we're going down deep into something so personal and so deep, really all these past lives, our current life, why we're here, what we're working through. Boy, you would really want to work with somebody that just um, embodied trust, exuded trust and integrity in the most unbelievable way. And you are that. I mean, we just met in person, but as you talk and you really you'd say this is somebody I could work with, where I'm going to really go deep like this. So just to share that, because it's
Oh,
my
thank you.
observation as we're talking.
That's
So
so kind. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really the aspect of compassion and again, and I'm one of those like kind of crazy, honest people. I've done tons and tons and tons of work over. Honestly, I joke over the last 60 plus years because I was awake as a teenager in California in the late 60s and studying and playing out there in the kind of wild San Francisco days and to work through compassion for myself, for some of the things I may have done, for some of my experiences, some of the ways that, I've treated people. So life is definitely a process, and it really is about our own soul growth. And I remember many years ago, I said to the record keepers, I said, did I totally goof up because I was so awake. I was on such a spiritual path as a teenager. I started studying and studied spirituality through high school. I was minoring in philosophy at the university. And then I went a little off the rails when my two best friends died. And I said, did I totally goof up? I could have been a spiritual teacher at 20. And of course, again, the record keepers have no judgment. They're pure unconditional love, their pure source energy. And so they kind of laugh at us as kind of silly humans. And they said, you wouldn't be who you are today if you hadn't had those experiences and done the work you've done.
yeah, boy, I get that. So yeah, I wouldn't, in my case, say I was awake, as a teenager. I don't know that I would say that. What I would say is I did feel all along the way like I was just like, what am I doing on this planet? It just seemed like a bit of a foreign planet for me here, where just like as one example, there were when friends' parents, and I'd come into their home, they felt so transactional, cold, and I don't mean that in a mean way, but it just felt like, wow, this is really interesting. It didn't feel like relational, which felt more the natural thing. And then now doing the work I'm doing, as we talk about conscious living, one of the things I share, which feels true, at least for me, as I talk about conscious living, is transactional actually is a throwaway word. There's no place for transactional. That's the whole point, is in conscious living. That's why we were born, is to be in the relational experience, not to just have a task and, where we treat each other as machines and check it off, which, as we know, even in going into the hospital or in school or, most of the institutions in today's world, it is very transactional, and that'll change, because this whole wave is coming in now that we're
Yes.
calling in humanities team conscious living. And because I think it really, we're coming to understand the invitation in life better and how we can live into it better. So anyway, just to
Yes.
share a little personally. So can you explain our family contracts that involve children, Lisa?
Absolutely. So again, when we make this big soul plan that is all stored in the Akasha, so, if you want to figure out, what that manual was about before you came in, the Akashic Records or Akasha is really the place to find it. So we literally will pick a family as a soul. We're like, oh, well, I think I'll have this mother and this father. Often we pick them for a variety of reasons. So I always say that in the Akashic Records, there are many layers to any one question as a rule. So we talk about wanting the genes. Sometimes there's a real genetic connection. We may pick a family for that. We may have been part of that genetic lineage in another lifetime. So the interesting thing is you could have been your great-great-great-grandfather, a couple hundred years ago. And we pick that again for the wisdom, the ancestry, the genes, and often the gifts that might be running in that ancestral lineage. We also come to learn and grow. So we may pick a parent that is challenging so that we get that soul growth from them. And we also sometimes actually make soul contracts, say, to adopt someone. It may be your new partner's child from another marriage. My nephew came to live with us when he was a young teen, and so I consider him our fourth child. He grew up with our three kids and grew up together, and so now we consider his new daughter our granddaughter. Even though I did not give birth to him, I have a very strong, clear soul contract with him, and he sees it and relates to it in that same sort of way as so we do write these contracts in a variety of different ways. So it is interesting to start to understand, and we do in this brand new book, Akasha, I do talk more about some of these kind of contracts around sometimes adoption or even we write soul contracts around loss, the loss, whether it's through a miscarriage or the loss of a child. We really do go very often into great depth in the soul contracts that we write with other people in so many ways.
Wow, fantastic. My wife may want to just separately, set up a session with you, Lisa. So we Stephanie and I adopted our two children. So we weren't, quickly conceiving on our own, though there were all these options, including host mom, and we could have actually very easily ended up with our own children. But we both had this calling of, no, we're supposed to adopt. And so we did. We have two open adoptions. Our son adopted 21 years ago, our daughter 18 years ago. And as we tell them, and growing up, we said, you chose us and we chose you, before we came down here. So this is not some random thing. You wanted to have birth parents over here and then, parents that raise you over here. This is your design and our design. We actually created this design before we were born into the world, which I'm guessing is kind of what your work shares too.
Exactly. You wrote a soul contract with those two souls before any of you embodied to make that plan. And so, it's so perfect when you start to realize that that's what's come together in your life and that this truly is everyone's soul plan for the highest and best for everyone. Doesn't always mean it's easy, right?
Yeah. But no. In fact, it's usually not. There are challenges in there. But that's the whole, the soul wants to know. It wants to experience. So it's going to experience all these things, right? The infinity of God, really, the divinity, of which we are, is our essence. So here's the big question then. How does accessing our Akashic records help us in our daily lives or help change humanity's future? I mean, that's a big, important question.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I really write about so much of this in Akasha because there is a lot of, depth that's hard to say in a few minutes. But when we can access our own Akashic records, again, as I literally teach in the new book, I give you my 5-step wisdom prayer system in Akasha so that you can start to play with learning how to open your own records. Because when you can align to this beautiful divine energy of the Akasha, connecting to your Akashic record keepers, you can ask simple questions and very deep, really life transforming kind of questions, as we were saying about, Deborah saying, where should I move? And, she
Right.
never would have picked Marin if I hadn't been, hey, but having that gift to open your records every day and say, is it in my highest and best good to align to this work? Is there maybe a new business partner to work with? Or is this new friend really part of my soul family? Have I known them in other lifetimes? Have I written a soul contract with them? So we can use it in those sort of kind of simpler daily questions, as well as we can literally ask in our records, what purposes did I plan for my life? Right? Because I always say, or the record keepers always say, we have many purposes, not just one. It's not a job description. We have come to hold the light and the energy of transformation. We have come to create new inventions to help us transform the world. We have come to really do so much work around bringing the new earth into the world, really embodying and creating this next step on our planet. And so the gift of access into your own Akashic records is really daily and can be huge and phenomenal. Because the other thing that I hear the record keeper saying, because once you really learn to dive into the records, there's a lovely ongoing communication that you can have with your record keeper. So whenever I'm sharing, they're kind of chattering at me in the background, answering questions for us. So what they're reminding us is that when we can see some of the lives that we've had, when we can really realize and start to embody that greater truth of who you are as a spiritual leader, as a divine teacher, as someone who has been on this planet holding the light and the high vibrational energy for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. When we can see those lifetimes, I find that for my clients, it is so really empowering just to know it's not just that I think my ego wants me to write a book. I've written many books over time. I've taught and shared and been part of the ancient mystery schools in other worlds or other realms, other countries. So it's so empowering as we start to deepen and understand, both consciously, but really it's energetically, that we can start to embody this beautiful energy, bringing it present into our physical form right now, so that we can start to share some of the wisdom that we've learned and honed through many, many lifetimes. So transformational in so many ways, from daily to that kind of bigger picture for your life and for what you've come to, how you've come to be of service to humanity.
Yeah, boy, I can see how that would be very empowering. I can see, where it's just there's a depth here where you're building on this current life, just going way back into these other lifetimes and other experiences, and that would be very empowering, and just in all the ways that I mean that, in terms of understanding who you are and understanding how you can contribute even at a more substantial level, where you're drawing on these past experiences where this is exactly what you were doing in these earlier lifetimes. So just kind of getting you on your feet and getting your feet strong, very quickly. So what are some of the tools that you share in the book to help others access the records, Lisa?
Well, as I briefly mentioned, I teach my 5-step wisdom prayer system, which is literally the how to access your own Akashic records is the big tool that's in the book. And I also teach quite a few of the guided visualizations and other kinds of empowerment tools that the Akashic record keepers have given me over time. And some aspects that the record keepers talk about how important things like embodiment are, being grounded, really embodying the physical form, being the sovereign, right? Being the queen or the king of your energy field so that you can be in alignment to your soul plan, to your Akash, that you can really be on task and on purpose in a higher way. So I teach some of these tools that one I call guided, guarded, and protected, that helps you to be a greater sovereign of your energy field. Teaching a beautiful grounding tool they've given me. So all of those aspects help and support learning to work in your own Akashic records.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so can you share one of the mystical experiences with the Akasha from the book?
Oh, I would love to. So I've written 2 very fun stories that you can read. I'm looking at flipping through my book. It's
Oh, good. Thank you for holding that up. There it is, Akasha. Yeah.
I know. I love the cover. Ariel and I were bringing it together, creating it together. Anyway.
And the Common Sentient series. There it is.
Yeah, there
Beautiful.
it is. So I wrote about a life as a whale, which I always think is a very kind of fun and unusual story, because many of us, again, as we talk about being really ancient souls, I came to the planet 150,000 years ago as a whale and actually wrote a contract with Gaia, with our dear Mother Earth, to help and support her throughout time. And so hence I've had 1,000 human lives on the planet also. But some of the other people, there's stories from 20 different people who have submitted their experiences in the Akashic records. I love one of the stories that is about how this woman really transformed her kind of family ancestral land in Ireland. Through the Akashic record, she realized that the energy that was so disruptive to her family was because there had been so many wars on her ancestral land. And so through the Akashic records, through the guidance that she received, she did healing and clearing of this ancestral land for the ancestral lineage and going forward, and was able to clear that old energy of the war, of the death, just all of kind of the dark energy that was literally affecting her family. And when she freed that up, she was free then actually to let go of the land, because the land's request of her had really been to help heal it so that it could be out there in the world in a positive, supportive way. So that to me was so powerful to know that you can not only access your own Akashic records, but sometimes we're accessing the records of our ancestral land, and we can do work with our ancestral lineage to help heal the trauma that sometimes comes down through that lineage.
Boy, no kidding. Yeah, this is, they've got Ancestry.com. This is Ancestry.com on steroids.
Right?
Everybody would sign up for this, Ancestry.com.
Absolutely. And 2 of the other authors really both talk about when they lost their mother or their brother, someone very close in their family, that they were able to work in their own personal Akashic records to kind of understand the loss, to heal some of the trauma. And interestingly, often when we're in the Akashic records, again, because you're part of Source, you're part of the quantum field, that our ancestors, our loved ones, can actually talk to us through our own Akashic records. I can still hear my mother 23 years later. She still talks to me through the Akash. And so it's another kind of beautiful gift and aspect of the Akashic records that is actually little known to most people. So there's 2 stories about that in the book Akasha.
Beautiful. Yeah, I use Suzanne Giesman. She's another instructor we work with on our faculty, and who's now a medium, among other things. And she's got a Bless Me method. And I'd never been in touch with my sister, my dad, my grandmother, angels, guides, and now it's quite common, that I am. It's this whole lifting of the veil thing is so real. And what mediums share, also the NDEers, near-death experience, was we were never meant to just be here in the physical realm without access to the non-physical realm. It was always intended that there would be a lifting of the veil. And this is one of the beautiful things about conscious living, is it's really coming on full steam now, this whole lifting of the veil, where, this notion of death, it's like, this is another word, just like
right.
This, where I was saying earlier, it just doesn't have relevance anymore. There's no such thing as death. But hey, there's a question. We've gone a little over, but if I can throw this question at you, Lisa. This came from our YouTube site, and it's from Ingela, spelled Ingela, and she says, "Thank you for informing us about this interesting topic. Can you tell me what my next step in life should be?" So that's that's a real open-ended question. But if you take a shot at that, if you would, Lisa.
Absolutely. So when I access the Akashic records for clients, to me, it is a very sacred process. So I would literally go in and open your records specifically and talk personally to your Akashic record keepers. But we do that, of course, as a sacred process. But what I'm hearing also for you, because of course, always in the Akash, the record keepers are saying that it is very important for you to really follow your spiritual path and put your doubt aside. So it feels like there's been some doubt about, am I really a light worker? Should I really make these next steps? Is this really true? Right? So it's a not so uncommon for us humans to have doubts about accessing deeper spiritual wisdom or creating a spiritual business. So really what the record keepers want to say is that try the 5-step wisdom prayer system in the book, and definitely follow your spiritual path. You do have those gifts. So that is their message that I'm hearing.
Yeah, boy, that's beautiful. I would imagine that's a message for many, to follow your spiritual path, because that right now, as people are searching for the meaning and purpose and living into their deeper values, of course, where we follow our spiritual path, boy, we get all of that and more. So yeah, beautiful. Glad we brought that question in. So, well, Lisa, gosh, thank you so much. This, it's now been about 40 minutes, but what a fantastic session. I'm so grateful to have you with us. And so her website again is akashickknowing.com. So let me spell that it's akashickknowing.com. There you go. Yeah, and there's the book Akasha. So, and you can go to akashickknowing.com to learn more about Lisa, her books, the private sessions, all of these things. We're just super excited to be connected with Lisa, and look forward to doing more with you, Lisa, here. Wow, what a great session it's been. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Steve. It has been a joy. And I also would love to let people know that if you go to akashickknowing.com, you will also be able to receive 4 free gifts when you purchase the new book, Akasha. So you can do that right on my website. It'll connect you up so you could go to Amazon, buy the book, plug in the information, and download my free gifts for you. So everyone can learn more about the Akashic Records. There are guided visualizations that I talk about in the book with music and everything. So lovely gifts to bring you deeper into the Akashic Records. And I so appreciate you, Steve. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you for joining me. AkashicKnowing.com. Wow, 4 free gifts with the book. So, hey, don't miss out. This might be your big thing here as we come into a weekend that's around the corner. So go order that book. Lisa, thank you. And as I mentioned, boy, we're going to stay in touch with you for sure. I'll be introducing you to a few people right after this program. So thank you for joining me and looking forward to more. Yeah, peace and blessings.
Thank
Namaste.
you. Namaste.
Really been wonderful.